Hello? Oh, hey, Bob. How are you doing? Oh, that's good to hear. Well, the last few days have been pretty eventful for me here. I was going 140 on the number one and smoked a deer. No, it got totaled. Hey, Bob. See some people spying on me here. I better run. Talk to you later. Hey guys, how are you doing? I was just talking to my friend Bob. He called me while I was sneaking through these trees here. So, did you understand what I said to Bob? Well, if you didn't understand it, I'm going to help you understand, all right? So I said, hey Bob, how are you doing? He told me how he was doing. I said, that's great. Then he asked me, how are you doing, Mark? What's up? And I said, well, it's been a pretty eventful last few days. What does that mean? Eventful. Well, eventful is the opposite of uneventful. Okay, so eventful means it's been full of things, right? Uneventful means nothing happened. So if you're coming to Canada, you're taking a trip, right? You booked your plane ticket, you get on the plane, you come here. I could ask you, hey, how was your trip? And you could say, it was very uneventful. That means that was great. It was calm, it was peaceful, nothing major happened, right? Because very often when you travel, things happen, stressful things happen, right? Maybe your flight is late and you miss your connecting flight, and you have to go to talk to the people. We missed this flight, book us on the next flight, and then maybe they have to put you in a hotel, and maybe you lose your passport, maybe your kids get sick and they're throwing up on the plane, and it's just it's stressful, right? So then you could say, if that happens, if it's stressful, you could say it was an eventful trip. An eventful trip. Then you start to tell me, well, we missed our flight and we lost our passport, then our kids started throwing up, and it was so eventful. But if you say, Mark, it was very uneventful, that's good, right? That means you just got on the plane and you got to Canada, you went through immigration, everything was smooth and fine. That's great, right? So uneventful is usually a good word. It can also mean a bit boring. Like if I ask you, how was your weekend? And if you say, it was pretty uneventful. Uneventful. That means you didn't really do anything. It was just a normal weekend, right? So maybe it was just peaceful, calm, maybe a bit boring, But, usually if something is uneventful, that's good. If things are eventful, that means maybe a lot of things happened, right? So I told my friend Bob, I said the last few days have been pretty eventful. Okay, that means many things happened. And then I said I was going 140 on the number one and smoked a deer. What does that mean? What does that sentence mean? Let's break it down, all right? So, to understand this sentence, look at these nice leaves here, guys. This is a beautiful bush, beautiful row of trees here. So to understand the sentence, you need to understand some missing words, some missing information. Okay, number one, what does that mean? Number one, well, that's the name of a highway here in Canada. Okay, that's the name of the highway that goes all across Canada. It's a big road. Usually in many parts, it's a divided highway. Okay, a divided highway means that you have 2 or 3 lanes going this way, and then you've got a big ditch, and then you've got more lanes going that way. Okay, so it's divided. This group, this highway, this part of the highway is going this way, that other part of the highway is going the other way. Okay, if it's not a divided highway, if it's just one road, then in the middle there's going to be a yellow line, right? A yellow line in the middle. So you're going this way and the other people are coming this way on the same road. That's a normal road, right? But the #1 highway in Canada, which is also called the Trans-Canada Highway, because it goes from coast to coast, Trans-Canada, right? That is it. It's a really nice highway, and a lot of it is divided. So that's nice. I love divided highways because then you're not worried about getting hit. You're not going to hit somebody, you know, coming the other way. So that's one information to know. Here in Canada, that highway is called the Trans-Canada Highway. Every road has a name, right? Every road, small roads, big roads, highways, boulevards, everything has a name. So let's say someone told me, let's say you told me, Mark, I was doing 140 on Oaksville. Have I ever heard that word before? Oaksville? Do I know what it means? No, I don't know what it means. But I would understand that you are driving. Okay? Now, how do I understand that? Well, going 140. What does that mean? Going 140. That means driving 140 kilometers per hour. Okay? That the units are missing. Right? I didn't tell Bob I was driving 140 kilometers per hour on the #1. I didn't say that. I just said I was going 140. Okay? So, very often in English, native English speakers remove words, especially units. Okay, if we're talking about measuring something, we remove the units, and it's your job to figure out what the units are. It's not my job. Okay, so I just spoke like a natural English speaker. I said, you know, I was going 140 on the #1. It's not my job to say 140 kilometers per hour. That's your job to listen and figure out what's going on. This is very common in English. We you know, like if we're talking about height, how tall are you? Now, if you ask me that, I would say I'm 5'10". Right? I wouldn't say I'm 5 feet 10 inches or 5 foot 10 inches. I wouldn't say that. I would just say I'm 5'10". Okay, so I remove the units, and it's your job as the listener to understand what those units are based on the context. Okay, it's the same with anything, with weight, right? If I ask you, how much do you weigh? If you say, I'm 60, I'm 60. What does that mean? It could mean you're 60 years old, right? But if the context is weight, well, then it doesn't mean 60 years old. Then it means a measure of weight. Now, what would that be? Well, it would either have to be pounds or kilograms, right? Now, if you are an adult, I would interpret that sentence to be 60 kilograms, right? Because if it were 60 pounds, well, that's the weight of a child. Okay, that's like the weight of a 7-year-old child. So if I'm talking to an adult, I know I can rule out pounds. Rule out means you can omit that possibility. I can rule that out. Because obviously you're not 60 pounds. You're not a child. You're a fully grown adult. Okay? So you'd be 60 kilograms. I would know that, right? Now, if you told me I'm 200, okay? You're 200. Could that be pounds or kilograms? Well, I would interpret that to mean pounds. Because 200 pounds is a normal weight of an adult. It's a very common weight. Like me, I'm like 200 pounds. I'm a bit over 200 pounds, but I'm about 200 pounds. Okay, now could it mean kilograms? Yeah, it could, but that would be 440 pounds. So if you tell me I'm 200, if you mean kilograms, that means you weigh 440 pounds. You're a big boy. You're a big girl, right? If you weigh 200 kilograms, it's not a very common weight, right? How many people do you know who are 440 pounds? Have you ever met anybody? Yeah, probably. In your life, I've met people who are 440 pounds, but it's not common. So I would assume, in our context, I would assume that you mean pounds. Now also we can use other ways to figure out what someone could mean. For example, when I'm talking to immigrants, I know they always use kilograms because most countries around the world use kilograms. But here in Canada, people use pounds, and Americans use pounds to measure weight. And they use feet and inches to measure height, right? So if I'm talking to an immigrant, I already know they're going to use kilograms. I've never met an immigrant in my life who has... Guys, I'm just standing in one place. Should we do some walking through the bushes? Do a little bit of bird watching here. I love listening to the birds and stuff. It's just beautiful. I love trees and bushes and stuff. Smash like if you love trees and bushes and birds. So, I already know that immigrants use kilograms, not pounds. Now, if you come to Canada and if you meet someone like me and they ask you how much do you weigh or how tall are you, you should use feet and inches for height and pounds for weight. Just learn it. It's easy, It's just really something easy to learn, right? I mean, I can say measure in both, right? I can say, I can tell people I'm about 100 kilograms, 210 pounds, maybe 215 pounds, something like that, right? So it's, it's easy to, it's an easy thing to learn, right? So if I'm talking to Americans, I know they're going to give me their weight in pounds, right? So that's another way you can kind of gauge the situation and figure out what the missing information could be. Okay, now I told Bob that I was going 140. What does that mean? Well, it only has one possible meaning, and that is speed. If you're going, that means driving. I was driving 140 kilometers per hour. Now, if it's in the US, then it would mean 140 miles per hour because they use miles per hour. We use kilometers per hour here in Canada, right? So, I told Bob I was doing 140. Okay, that means I was driving. You can say I was going 140 or I was doing 140. Both mean the same thing. I was doing 140 on the number 1. That means, right, I was driving 140 kilometers per hour along the number 1 highway, okay? And I smoked a deer. Okay, what does that mean? What does that part of the sentence mean? I smoked a deer. Smoke. I smoked, no, smoke. Smoked fish, smoked salmon. Deal with smoke. What is that? What does smoked mean? In this context, smoked means you hit a deer. The word smoke means you hit very hard. So imagine if you're driving 140 kilometers down the highway and you hit a deer, you're gonna hit the deer hard. So you can say, I smoked it. I just frickin' smoked the deer. Okay? Smoked. Smoked could also... Smoked is a verb in this situation. I smoked the deer. Okay? It doesn't mean I smoked the deer like you smoke a cigarette. I could also say I smoked a cigar. I don't even know how to smoke a cigar, guys. I smoked a cigar. Yeah, you could say that. I smoked a deer. How do you smoke a deer? You don't, that's not, you can't smoke a deer, right? So deer, if you smoke a deer, it only has one meaning, and that means you hit it very hard. Okay? Smoked can also be an adjective to describe a method of cooking. For example, smoked salmon, or, you know, smoked meats. Usually it's meats that are smoked. It's a way of cooking the meat in something called a smoker. Okay, and it gives the meat a flavor of smoke. Right? So that's you know, that's also the what the word smoked can mean, but that's an adjective. Smoked deer. Okay, so I could say, I like eating smoked deer. What does that mean? That means the deer has been cooked in a smoker. So the meat is smoked. Okay? So the same word in English can have many different meanings depending on the context, right? So in this situation, when I was talking to Bob, I said I smoked a deer. Because I was driving, it means that this can only have one meaning, right? Now, if you asked me, Mark, how was your weekend? And I said, oh, it was great. I did some cooking. You know, I smoked a deer. And, well, then what would that mean? That would probably mean I cooked the deer using a smoker. Smoked deer meat. Okay? So a lot of English listening is based on the context, and you have to figure it out. That's your responsibility. It's not the responsibility of the speaker to fill in all the information. And when you're learning English, it's hard. It's hard work. But as you learn, you will get better at filling in the missing information. And then you can understand everything better. Right now, when I'm explaining this to you, now you understand, because we're going slowly. I'm explaining each word. After 1 or 2 years of learning English, or maybe 3 or 4 years, you'll get faster and faster, and you don't need to slow everything down like I'm doing now, right? But first, you have to start slow. That's the only way. Start slow, like a child learning how to walk. First they walk and they fall over and they're walking very slowly. But when they get older, like 5 or 6 years old, they can run fast. When I was like 5 or 6 years old, I was a fast runner. I could just run everywhere. It was awesome. I was faster than I am now, guys. I'm too fat these days. Can't run anywhere. So, does that make sense? Okay, so we covered the first part of the phone call. I told Bob, I said, it's been a pretty eventful last few days. Okay, pretty means quite. It's been quite an eventful last few days. It's been a pretty eventful last few days. Okay, it means, yeah, some things happened. Some things have happened, right? Now, after that, what did I say? I smoked a deer. Then there was a pause in the conversation, and he asked me something. What did he ask me? Okay, I responded. I said, I totaled it. I totaled it. Okay, what does that mean? What question did he ask me to make me give that response? Well, I'll tell you, he asked me about my car. Is your car okay? How's your car? What happened to your car? Because the word totaled means completely destroyed. Okay? So if I say I totaled it, that's a word, that's a way to talk about a car that is completely damaged in an accident, right? So if you total your car, that means the insurance company is just going to write it off. Okay, the insurance company is not going to try to fix it. They're just going to give you the money to buy a new car because it's too much work to fix it. Like if you get into an accident and the whole car is just totaled, well, you know, is it fixable? It's going to cost so much money to fix that the insurance company is just going to write it off. Okay, it's damaged, it's totaled. The car is totaled. We are going to give you money to buy a new car. That's what insurance is. The insurance, you have to pay a premium to the insurance company, maybe $100 a month or 200 or 300 or 400 bucks a month. And that means that they have to pay you if you get into an accident. Now, if it's a minor accident and they can fix it, yeah, maybe they'll just fix it. But if they can't fix it, or if it's too expensive to fix, they're just going to write it off. Okay, so that's what the word totaled means. If you say I totaled my car, it means it's just completely damaged, destroyed. So I told Bob I totaled it. So you need to figure out what question he asked me for me to give that answer. When you know my answer, then you know what his question was, right? His question was, so what happened to your car? And I said, I totaled it. Okay, does that make sense? Well guys, there's your English lesson for today. It's a very advanced, these are very advanced words that I explained to you. You know, totaled it, you know, eventful, uneventful, smoked. These are very advanced words. So if you didn't understand what I said to Bob, don't feel bad. You understand it now, right? Now, and with more of these videos, I would like to make more listening videos because a lot of people ask me, Mark, I have a problem understanding what people are saying to me, right? So I had someone recently say, Mark, I can't understand my neighbors. When my neighbors are talking to me, I can't understand what they're saying. So I would like to make more. I'm planning to make more listening videos. If you like these kind of videos, these listening videos, let me know down in the comments and I will be happy to make more like this. Or if you hear a phrase that you don't understand, let me know down in the comments and I'll try to make a video explaining what that means. Okay? So, you know, guys, very often in English, there's missing information. Whether it's the units of something like temperature, like even if you ask me, you know, Mark, what's the temperature? If you ask me, how's the weather in your neck of the woods? Neck of the woods means place. How's the weather in your place, in your neck of the woods? I could say, oh, it's pretty good here. It's about probably about 20. It's probably about 20 outside. 20. I didn't even say degrees, or what am I talking about? 20 what? Well, it's your job to understand that I mean 20 degrees Celsius, right? Because here in Canada we use Celsius. If it's in the US and someone said oh, it's about 70 out here, that would mean it's 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay? So it's your job to fill in the missing information and to understand it. So guys, it's beautiful out here. You know, it's about 20. I'd say it's about 20. And how about in your neck of the woods? What's the weather in your neck of the woods? Let me know down in the comments. As always, guys, I love you so much. Hope you're doing great. Hope you're staying safe, healthy, and happy. Thank you guys for always smashing that like button, for leaving nice comments and subscribing and everything you do. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much, and as always, I'll see you over in the next episode of Mad English TV. Take care.